Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All you need is love and a little bit of faith, UCC. A good morning to you all on a beautiful, hopefully stays beautiful Sunday morning here in Dunedin, Florida. I wonder if you'll join me as we're gonna do a little something today. We're gonna celebrate the earth today, and we have a speaker from the Sierra Club. We're gonna introduce you in just a bit. So I wonder if you'll join me in our call to worship, our gathering litany, which is geared toward the beauty of our earth. Today, let us celebrate the earth, our earth, God's earth. Today, let us join with the earth and with one another.
To bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air.
Let us join with the earth and with one another.
To renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the other creatures.
Let us join with the earth and with one another.
To celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars.
Like that. Let us join with the earth and with one another.
To recreate the human community in the image of love, to promote justice and peace, to build a future for our children.
Let us today join with the earth and with one another.
As many and diverse expressions of one love ministry for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life.
Not just today, but every day.
Let us celebrate the earth.
And let us celebrate the earth by singing a really cool earth tune. I love this song. It's called The Canticle of the Sun. I wonder if you'll rise up in body or spirit and join me in this lively and fun hymn.
Say to the Lord.
I love that song. You're getting it too. You're getting. You know, we need to. Should we sing it again? So I think you're starting to get it. Thank God I cut out the other 12 verses. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Faith United Church of Christ again on this beautiful Sunday morning, and welcome to our friends online, wherever you are coming from. As we always say, wherever you are here, especially on Sunday morning. Special welcome to any visitors we have with us, first-time visitors, return visitors. We're delighted to have you with us. And if you're in person with us, go ahead and sign our friendship book, which we keep on the table in the gathering space, so we can keep you apprised of all the happenings that we have going on here. We've got a lot going on in this place. And if you're online with us, just send a note to office@faithucc.org, and we'll get you on that same newsletter list to keep you apprised of everything that we have happening here. And again, if you're online, I'm going to say it every week, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and like and share. And if you're on, what's our other one? Oh, YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Twitch, IHOP, whatever you're on, go ahead and share it out there so we can spread our message of love and inclusion.
Should we get on Twitch?
Should we get on Twitch? Is anybody here on Twitch? Does anybody know what Twitch is? That's one of our options to stream, and I'm like, what is Twitch? It sounds like a wow, I won't even go into it. It sounds like, but apparently that's a platform. I had no idea.
It's for video gamers.
Yeah, it's for gamers. Yeah, so we won't go there, but welcome to all of you. We've got a great service today. Really excited to welcome James Scott from the Sierra Club to join us in just a little bit and talk about his work and really just to celebrate the environment today. You know, Earth Day was in April. We had so much going on with our Holocaust partnership with the Florida Holocaust Museum, with Tony Rindy being here. So we decided let's kind of find someone to come in that wants to talk about their passion for the environment in May. So today is that day, and I'm really excited to welcome James here with us in just a little bit. I'm wearing I was wearing my stole. This was given to me, I think when I was ordained. It's got all kids' prints on it. And whenever I'm talking about the environment, I always like to wear this because it reminds me this is why we talk about the environment when it comes to our faith, because it's these little hands here that want to have a future. And if we don't talk about the environment now and bring it into the heart of our faith, well, they're not going to have a future. And we want to make sure that that's not the case, because we're ruining this thing pretty quickly. And a lot of people think that their faith gives them license over this warped vision of dominion to do such a thing. And we know, or end some kind of bad end times theology or something. We know none of that's true. So we want to set the record straight on that and do it for the children. So welcome, James. Really delighted to have you with us. And also, you know, we're trying to get our green team going. So if you are interested in serving, any green team members want to raise your hand? We got a couple here. Terry. Yep, Terry and Jane. We got others here. Talk to them. Oh, I see, yep, in the back there. Talk to anyone that raised their hand if you're interested in serving on a green team, because we really need a strong environmental team. One, to help, you know, do our recycling and things like that in here, but also to kind of plan our the events that we want to partner with other organizations like the Sierra Club with, and just to do that kind of stuff to help make our world a better place. So that'd be great if you want to serve on the green team. We would love it. Hey, I'm going to make some announcements. I got a big joy to celebrate. We're going to do that at the end of the service. I put a slide in. I can't wait to celebrate with you. There's your suspense. It's your suspense. James is only going to talk for 2 hours, he said. So once James is through with his 2 hours today, then we're going to be good, and we'll get into that suspenseful announcement. But I got to celebrate last night here with you all before we begin. So on Sunday mornings, we're this church, right? But on Saturday nights, apparently, we're the most hoppinest comedy club in Pinellas County, because that's what it was last night here. And I just wanted to share a few photos. Big thanks to Whitney, who just pulled off this amazing, it's in the back there, this amazing, she's like, I want to have a comedy night. Cool, go for it. And she just planned and organized this thing, and it was a great night in here. I mean, it looked like a comedy club. Candles on the table, little round top. I mean, look at this. Look at the backdrops we had here. I didn't get all of our performers. I got everybody in at the end in a group photo. I didn't get all of our performers in, but we had like 10 acts here, and every one of them was just fantastic. There's 3 there. There's a couple more, and then So the guy in the end in the blue, he was one, but then there were 3 others that also appeared along with him. I don't know, they all kind of look the same. One's a little taller. They each get a little taller each time, I noticed. I don't know how that happened in the photo, but the guy with the mustache, I don't know. Everybody booed him last night. So what just a really fun night. There's our group there. They all performed. Well, thanks to everybody that pulled that off, that stayed around to clean up and reset. We reset this place in like 20 minutes. It was amazing last night. And for organizing it, and for our performers, just for coming out and doing comedy. And that's a plug for all the rest of you that were like, I didn't even hear about this thing, or I didn't know. You have to perform next time. So start working on your comedy act. I was going to perform. I know everybody, are you going to do a comedy act? But I did stand up once. I did stand up, and the advice I got afterwards was, okay, here's what I want you to do: take 2 weeks off of that, and then quit forever. Ba-doom-boom. So I can't do comedy. That's also the same with my golf game too. They said take 2 weeks off and quit. Just quit forever. Don't ever do that again. So, a lot of dogs were howling, but and Michael Stark was in a suit. He was in like a tuxedo last night, and yeah, he said that was in case he died during the service. He could just take him right to the. And I said after his skit, I said something definitely died on stage. I'm not sure what it was, but. Maybe we'll make it a roast next time. Should we do a roast? Does anybody want to volunteer to be roasted? That'd be you can roast me. I'll sit up here and let y'all roast me. I think that'd be a riot to do, but that would be. So last night was a great night, and I just thank you, everybody. I can't wait till the next one. Let's already start working on it. And also had the idea we need a karaoke night as well. So between a karaoke night and another comedy night. What? Well, how do you all pronounce it, smarty pants? Okay, let's put this to a scientific poll. Who says karaoke? You do. I got a friend right there. I got a buddy. You and I are going to meet. We're going to have our own corner up here. Who says that weird word karaoke? You all. It's nice to be smarter than 99% of the room. We got a lot of things to get going. It's like bagel and bagel versus bagel.
You're wrong on that one.
Fran, I am wrong on a lot of stuff. Just everybody ask my wife, please. I think we're continuing the comedy skit to this morning. But we want to move into this service now. So I'll share some really good joys and some concerns towards the end of the service, with one big joy towards our announcement time. I want to share some. I want to center us in some poetry today. Some of the most beautiful poetry is written around the earth, and so I thought, let me just take a moment. I just want you to breathe, and here's what I want you to do in this centering moment. I want you to think of something that's a part of the earth that just makes you so happy, that fills you with joy. Flowers, or Gulf waters, or ocean waves, or gardens and butterflies. What makes you really happy? And just hold that there in front of you for a moment, and let it bring a sense of joy to your body, to your mind, to your spirit. And take a few deep breaths and just breathe that in. Breathe in the joy of the earth deep into your bones this day. Such a beautiful world, even when we try and screw it up. It's still such a beautiful world. I want to share the first poem here by Wendell Berry, one of my favorites, called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Thank you, Wendell Berry. And another poem that I've been reading this week is from Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, from her book Thirst, published in 2006. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches. And they call again, "It's simple," they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Gosh, he's good. And one last reading I want to share. Don't have a slide for it, but it comes from Chief Seattle, reflecting on the wonder of our earth and our interconnection, the interconnection of all things. It's kind of what inspired the stole today. Teach your children what we have taught our children, that the earth is our mother. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. If people spit upon the ground, they spit upon themselves. This we know. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know. All things are connected. Like the blood which unites one family, all things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Profound words. And with these poems and our love of creation, let us go ever more gently into this time of worship together with the voices of our choir.
Good morning. Our reading today is a poem from Robert Frost called The Road Not Taken. When it comes to the environment and our impact on it, the choices we make now will have great consequences to the state of our earth down the road. We are at a fork in the road today, it appears. Which path will we choose? The one that leads to a healthy planet teeming with diversity, or one that leads to the demise of our world and a disdain for the wonder of diversity? In the end, the road we choose will make all the difference in determining which of those two versions come true. Let's just hope, choose wisely, and let's give thanks for people that are working hard to save the beautiful world and the diversity that makes it so special and holy. The poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And he, one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as far, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy, it wanted wear, though as for that passing there, had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged into a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
I know which path I want to take. It's the one that hopefully we as a church will are choosing to take as well, but can inspire others to come along. So when we look back at the road we took one day, we know this is the right road for the environment and for our world. I want to invite Anna Jane up to introduce James, our speaker.
Are we doing a talk back after? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Good morning. I'm Anna Jane. This is my first time up here. This is a different perspective. And y'all look beautiful. And so for the last couple of years, I've gotten involved in the local Sierra Club. And so through that, I had met James Scott, our speaker today, and he heads up the Florida chapter of the Sierra Club, so the entire state. And he's here to talk to us today about environmental justice. All right. Oh, and I forgot, and afterwards, after the service, we'll do our usual talk back, and we can come and ask questions.
Good morning, friends. How are you? Am I correct? I have half an hour?
You got as much time as you want.
Okay, I'm going to set a timer. I didn't want to script myself. I figured that y'all would get the most out of this if I was as candid as I could be. So when I'm trying to do something like this, and by the way, I've never done something quite like this before, so I'm going to be kind of a freewheeling flow here. And the way that I kind of sketched out this morning, when I'm trying to simplify something complicated, a tool that I use is who, what, where, why, how, when, the point. So I'm going to kind of flow with that. Beginning with the who. So my name is James Scott. I was born and raised in Daytona Beach. I moved to St. Petersburg in 2008 to attend University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, to study environmental science and policy. I got really involved, became student president, helped create the Office of Sustainability, the Climate Action Plan for the university, a lot of the programming and infrastructure you see at USF St. Pete. That was kind of my playground in my early 20s. where I learned a lot of the practices around sustainability. Now I am the chair of the Florida chapter of the Sierra Club. It's a volunteer role. I represent 32,000 members in the state. We have a staff of nearly 20. We have 17 groups across the state, including the Suncoast Group, which is where I got started. I've been on the Suncoast Executive Committee locally since 2017, where I've served as chair and kind of worked my way up. And I'm really proud to lead an environmental organization, like ours. We are the largest grassroots environmental organization in the United States. When you look at the trying to shut down coal plants, fight for environmental protections, the Sierra Club is always at the front of that fight, and it's an honor and it's a real responsibility. Florida, we are the future. And when you look at the future of the United States, this is what America is going to look like, is the state of Florida. And where Florida is right now, the Florida that the world sees, that is not the Florida that I know and love, that I hope you know and love. I do believe this is an aberration, and this is not who we are. So that's the who. The what. We are in the midst of a climate crisis. The destruction of our environment, the exploitation of natural resources, the changing of the weather, the interruption of food supplies, water, energy. These are things that our future generations are going to look back and say, what did they do? What were they thinking? I'm not sure exactly how we got here, but I'm here today to kind of tell a story, and we need to tell a story. What is the story of America, of Florida, of our community? That story, past, present, and future. I think right now there's a crisis of hope, and I get it. I see folks every day that are just don't see where we're going. Our America that I understand, we're a forward-thinking, ambitious, spunky group of people, and we're in a rut, and we need to. And I think that a lot of the fight over our history is. And the fight over who we are today, we need to have America needs a story. It needs to remind ourselves of what our story is and rewrite it. There are folks out there who are trying to write the story of America's past, present, and future, and that is not. And the story they're writing is not the story that reflects our values. And so we have to be creative and ambitious. And how we think about how we got here and where we're going and where we are. So that's one of the whats. The other what here, environmental justice. That's why I'm here today. What is environmental justice? So you had a traditional environmental movement. It really started with the protection of wild places, national parks, preserves. Conceptually, for a lot of folks, that meant there's the land and there's people. And if you want to preserve the land and the environment, you got to get the people off it. That has deep roots in racism and colonialism. The understanding that people and the land are separate, we are not. The environmental movement was really successful. The Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the establishment of a national park system, the wild places that we do have today that are protected, those are hard-fought wins of the environmental movement. And then alongside that movement, if you want to look at the progressive umbrella, you had the environmental folks, and then you had the social justice folks, the folks that were fighting for voting rights and civil rights and democracy, living up to who we as a country have always believed ourselves to be. But there was always a divide in those movements. A lot of it was about race, a lot of it's about class, And we don't have to kind of hash out exactly why all that is and how we got here. But in this moment, the realization, the concept, the word, the phrase environmental justice is a recognition that these things are not separate. The forces that would exploit the environment are the same forces that would that exploit people. These two movements, the environmental movement and the social justice movement, being separate has undermined all of us. So the phrase environmental justice is a recognition that we need to join and build a bigger tent and to understand that the environment and people are one. And for a lot of folks in the environmental movement, this issue is something that I fight harder on in my role as the chair of the board than anybody. And I get a lot of pushback. We're here to fight for the water, for clean energy, to protect the panthers and the bears and the wildlife. And yes, that is our mission. As Sierra Club, our mission is to explore, enjoy, and protect the earth. But we can't do that in isolation from people. And so the practice of environmental justice, the theory and the practice, is a real recognition that we are stronger together and that joining forces so environmental justice is fundamentally about the combination of these two movements. So that's part of the what. So where? Here in Florida, I don't know if a lot of folks know this, but our springs, our system of springs, freshwater springs, is the largest in the world. The Everglades are a global gem of biodiversity. We have a really special place that we call home. And we have been paving paradise for decades. The home that we love, a lot of us are here, so I'm a second generation Floridian, but everybody that came here because we love the nature, right? We live in paradise. We are messing that up. We are taking that away from future generations. And so I think that if there's anything that can unite us in these divisive times as Floridians is that we love our land. We love our wildlife, we love our water. And so we really need to be thinking about what brings us together in this moment, and loving our state is a good first step. Also, in terms of where, when we think about environmental justice, we think about frontline communities. Quick raise of hands, who's heard of that phrase, frontline community? Okay, when you look at pollution, and you look at historically underrepresented people and communities, they intersect. The places where folks get asthma and cancer because of pollution, or the folks where people get flooded the most, these are what we call frontline communities. And so as we're trying to build a bigger movement, understanding that the places where the environment is under the greatest assault also just so happens to be where folks and historically this means black and brown folks, folks without means, folks who were redlined into certain neighborhoods along industrial corridors or into flood zones. These frontline communities are the places where we build alliances. And so when you imagine the map of Florida in your mind, from a Sierra Club perspective, we want to imagine where are the most beautiful places we want to protect in our state, and then where are the places where the environment's being harmed the most, and where do people overlap with that. Human health and environmental health go hand in hand. So frontline communities, that is where the opportunity lies to build a bigger movement. So why? So the environmental harm and human harm, how they kind of line up, it's about life. There are folks out there who have a disregard for life. And ironically, those are folks who consider themselves pro-life. what about the people that are here, the kids that are here now? There are, I think there's a callousness and greed that have I think detached some folks from they're having compassion and empathy for both the environment and for people. Why environmental justice? Because we're stronger together. As I'm guessing I can say this, as progressives, we're stronger together. There are parts of our culture and our politics and our media that have divided us. Those have been in large part deliberately orchestrated. We have got to come together and overcome those divisions, and a lot of times it means flipping to a different news station. The story of where we are now, this is a moment in history of destruction of the environment, of our natural resources, of people. I don't want to emphasize the negative part of the climate crisis, but there what's ahead is really daunting. The changing of the weather, the interruption of food and energy supplies, access to fresh water. A lot of the global instability that we see are people who haven't gotten rain in 20 years or 10 years, and so they're going to war. And so when we think about this moment of destruction, we have to be able to have the imagination to think about what comes after. And what should come after destruction is a regeneration, a rebirth. We have to have the hope and the imagination to imagine that. And I think that's what a lot of people don't have right now. That's something that's lacking in our politics. Our leaders who can really put out a vision for where we're going. What is the story of the future? There's a lack of that. And that starts on the grassroots level. Those of us on the ground, there's folks on high who I think have lost touch with what it means to be a strong community. And so the telling of a new story is going to start on the community level. We're not going to find it on national news. We're not going to find it in national politics. Ultimately, those things will reflect a hopeful future, but it starts with us. So how do we manifest these values? What does it mean to live environmental justice? There's a lot of, in the Sierra Club, we're a bureaucracy, we're an organization. We have a lot of members and a lot of leaders and we have the national all the way down to the local. And there's been a lot of work going into training and building the knowledge. So things like gender pronouns, figuring out how to get that right. Definitions like equity, inclusion, diversity, and justice, basic terms. What do those mean? It's okay that a lot of us don't know what those words mean. And this journey to build a bigger tent, to build a bigger movement, it starts with those things, but I would argue that we're getting caught up on those things. The whole, woke, Florida's where woke goes to die. Get out of here. The challenge of this discourse is that it's easy for us to be turned on each other. And I know the Sierra Club, we're an older, whiter, more educated organization. And there are folks that are like, well, don't ram these words down my throat. I don't want to I don't want to be made to feel like I'm part of the problem. A lot of folks feel that. Don't feel that. Don't feel that. So there's the talk, the words, the ideas, the theory, if you will. And then there's a practice. So there's a lot of talk about justice and equity and inclusion and diversity. And that talk is really important. But I would argue that my understanding of the progressive movement is that there's been a lot of talk, but talk is cheap. Where's the walk? Walk the talk, please. And so for folks that I lead, my point is, hey, we're going to talk about these things. We're going to learn the words. We're going to learn the ideas. What does justice really mean? What does equity mean versus equality? Why does inclusion matter? But at some point, folks say, well, what are we doing about this? What's the point? And that practice is where the rubber meets the road. I don't want to just get up here today and talk about the ideas. The ideas are very, very important. I think that I'm here with an audience that kind of gets the idea, right? And before I dive in, I do want to just touch on some of these words. Equity is the acknowledgement that some people have less resources than others. So when we approach government policy, things like education and healthcare access, some folks start from a disadvantaged point. Some folks don't want to acknowledge that. I don't get it. It's the politics of division, but we have to recognize, and that's when we talk about frontline communities, the folks that are fighting to feed their families and to breathe clean air. We have to, as we're redirecting our thoughts and our resources, we have to acknowledge that some folks are starting from a different point than others. And let's not be divisive about it, because folks are dividing us based on that. Inclusion, creating welcoming space. This is a very welcoming space. A lot of organizations and movements, businesses, nonprofits, they're not very inclusive. If you see a board, I came onto the Sierra Club board, and it's all white folks. That's okay. Nobody is looking to cast any stones at that. But we lead the state of Florida. We should reflect the state. Our leadership should look like our state. If we want to represent the communities that we serve, then we need to think about who in our organization has power. How are we going to become a more inclusive organization when everybody looks the same? That's hard work. How do you, and a lot of, big corporations and organizations are, checking the diversity boxes. That's not how you do it. You create a space where folks feel welcome and supported and where they belong. That's how you start. And I think a lot of the progressive movement has really focused on checking boxes and diversity for optical sake, for how it looks. Inclusion is about really creating spaces that all people want to be part of. And that's hard. It shouldn't be, but it is. So the practice. So again, I'm going to do a couple more things. So diversity, just remember that is a lot of folks still think that is one element of this journey, is that when you're a diverse organization or community, you become a diverse community because you're inclusive first. It's so kind of, like the chicken and the egg. How do you become a people, an organization, a movement that reflects your community? Just simply focusing on people's different identities, whether it's race, class, gender, sexual orientation. A big part of how the anti-woke forces are succeeding is that they have turned us on each other because we're trying to identify our varying identities that make us different, make us special, that make us a tapestry. America, that diversity. Some folks have used that to turn us on each other, and so the gays versus the straights, and the whites versus the blacks. That is a slippery slope that we've just been pushed onto, and we need to get up and get back on top of the hill and say no. The things that divide us really should be the things that unite us. Our differences are what make us stronger, and instead, a lot of folks have been turned on each other and made to be either villains or victims. We've got to get past that. And I'll say, as a white guy, it very often starts with white guys. It's like, hey, it's okay to be different. I don't feel attacked. You're not like nobody here is being attacked. And so again, the division around this work, we've got to get past that, and it's hard. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but But the discourse, that's part of why I kind of wanted to freewheel up here today, was to kind of engage with this as a discourse. We have to think about this whole body of work as a big conversation, like a family meeting. And it's supposed to be hard. There will be some tears. But we're going to be stronger for it. So to kind of go back to the how, the practice, a big part of that, from the Sierra Club perspective, is showing up. Part of my journey was I led a campaign back in 2016. How I got involved in the Sierra Club was I was hired to run a campaign called Ready for 100. And St. Pete was the first city in the southeast U.S. to commit to transitioning its energy to 100% clean power. I was hired to do that work and led a successful campaign based on my work at USF. And at the end of that, I had a friend after the end of the year, and we had a big successful thing, and I was leaving the city council chamber, and an old college friend stopped me, and she said, "Hey, you Sierra Club folks," and Chardonnay Singleton's her name. She's a local organizer, and she's a black woman. And she said, "What about Childs Park?" I said, "What do you mean, what about Childs Park?" And she said, "Well, there's a neighborhood right, 5 minutes away, predominantly black neighborhood, that has an air quality problem. There are people that have had for decades air pollution. These people have asthma. There's times a day where they have to go inside because the smell gets so bad." And she said, "What about that?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't know about that." And it kind of, there's moments sometimes when your bubble gets popped, where you realize that you're in a bubble. And that was the moment for me. And I've spent the last several years advocating on that issue. We actually just got some money from the state. It was actually more of a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, but the fact is that now you have leaders in the Sierra Club and leaders in City Hall who never even saw Childs Park. Childs Park felt unseen because they weren't seen. And part of the power of the Sierra Club is our ability to leverage our privilege and our influence to bring light to frontline communities. Childs Park in District 7, St. Pete, is a frontline community. That black community was redlined along the old railroad tracks. Their homes are right next to industrial sites. That was done on purpose. And the city did that through zoning and other means of government. And so it's on the city and on the community to fix that. And so that for me was a big aha moment. And the relationships that we built on that issue then led to other relationships that led to other things like our community benefits agreement ordinance that we adopted about a year or so ago. And that means that any big project that the city does where the city's kind of putting skin in the game, now there's requirements around the green buildings and affordable housing and walkability and green spaces. And that was a Sierra Club in lockstep with our leaders of color in the city of St. Pete. And we got that ordinance passed because our traditional environmental council members, our traditional allies, who never would have thought about District 7 or Childs Park, who typically ally with the environmentalists, but also developers. We got their votes when they probably wouldn't have voted for it. So we made something happen that was tangible for our frontline community because we leveraged our power. We twisted arms to make that happen. And that's how the practice starts. You start to show up in parts of the community where you're typically not showing up. You build relationships that maybe you wouldn't have had if you weren't thinking about these things. And you actually put skin in the game. This is about building coalitions. The environmental movement does not have the numbers or the power to fight the forces that be to protect our environment. Is on a backslide in the state of Florida. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not winning the war to protect our environment. And the same goes for people. The folks that struggle to feed their families and to breathe clean air and to afford their living. We need to join forces. And that goes back to the whole point of environmental justice. the environmental folks and the social justice folks, the folks that fight for democracy and the folks that fight for clean air and clean water, joining forces, what that is going to manifest as is a political coalition. And I'm not sure, I don't want to go down the slippery slope of politics here, but ultimately it's about people and it's about power. And right now the folks that have power are abusing it and turning us against each other. Those of us of goodwill are the majority. The majority of people are good people. I do believe that. But we've been divided. And folks have done that. Folks have orchestrated that. And we've got to be smarter than that. And so by uniting and building coalitions, so faith groups, universities, youth, and even in the Sierra Club context, joining forces with fishermen to protect clean water and to fight back against the preemption of fertilizer ordinances. There we have to have the imagination of how we fit into a bigger tent and a more diverse tapestry, because ultimately we needed to have, as the grassroots people of our state, we should be the ones that have power over our laws and our investments in education and healthcare and infrastructure. Right now, the folks that have that power in spite of us. And so it's on us to build those coalitions. The real change is a lot of that in the state of Florida. A lot of it happens in our city halls, in our county commissions, our school boards, and ultimately up in Tallahassee. And for us to be able to fight for our right to be in those spaces and to be heard and to affect the outcomes, that's hard work. But it starts with, and again, my journey, making relationships with leaders in the Black community, working on Child's Park and leveraging the Sierra Club's resources to get it in the paper and to get it on the agenda. And it should be fun. Meeting new people who don't share your background, building relationships with folks that 10 years ago you never would have thought that you would even been in their community, let alone being their friend. It's powerful. It makes us all better people, and it ultimately serves the bigger purpose of uniting us in solidarity to fight for our values, because our values are under attack. So to kind of conclude here, I see a minute and 11 seconds. I'm doing well here. We have to build a future that our future generations are going to be proud of, because right now we're blowing it. And I know that folks like us in this room, it can feel like we have no power to affect that outcome. I get it. I feel that sense of powerlessness. But history's rife with stories of authoritarian, divisive figures who use the same old tropes to turn us against each other that ultimately serves the powers that be. But also history's got stories of moments, inflection points, where people come together and galvanize and do something that history might not have expected. We have to have the hope that'll happen, and have the imagination of how we're going to be part of that. I believe that that's going to happen. Florida is going to be a very different state. I think it's going to take us personally this decade to turn the ship around. By the end of this decade, it's going to be hard work. The work I'm talking about doesn't happen overnight. I've been working on environmental justice since 2016 when I heard about Child's Park, and now I lead the largest environmental organization in the state, and I have lots of levers to pull and staff at my disposal. I still don't know exactly how to make this happen, but if we have an approach that is inspiring to us and how we live our daily lives now, but also thinks about how it's going to culminate in the years to come, we have to imagine the day when the powers that be in the state of Florida are our people. That will happen. We have to have that imagination and the hope. Also, hope is not enough because talk is cheap. So we have to also put ourselves out there, show up, make those relationships, put skin in the game. If there's issues, and I think you all really reflect this, there's there's a lot of hard work to be done, and we have to lock arms with folks that maybe years ago we wouldn't have even thought of locking arms with. A lot of folks share our values. The majority of people in our state and our country are good people, but we have to find them. We have to join forces with them. And those of us with privilege have to leverage that privilege in building that trust and building those relationships. So think about the story of our state, of our community, of our country. It's got to be realistic because things are really bad, but it's also got to be hopeful. And it's also got to be tangible. I am so weary of progressives who talk like, oh, I drive an electric vehicle and I recycle, and I only eat meat on Wednesdays. I drive a truck. Okay, I'm not trying to crack on anybody that does those things, but the true work is more personal than that. A lot of it is, I think the phrase is virtue signaling. A lot of us, being a progressive, a lot of it's about the optics. It's about looking like you're doing the right thing. Actually doing the right thing means, where do you show up? Where do you spend your time? Who are your friends? Who are you building alliances with? That is an actual change in how we live. We can't talk our way out of this. We're going to have to change how we live, how we build, how we plan, how we leverage resources. It's not enough to say the right things anymore. It's about really rethinking how do we show up in the world. So, final thought. It's two words I have here is leadership and solidarity. Solidarity, I think I gave a pretty good argument for why we need to embrace being in solidarity with our neighbors in a more innovative way, in a more inclusive way, and why we need that. And those of us that have the opportunity to lead, whether it's in your place of worship, or it's in your organization, or City Hall, we need leadership right now. The opportunity that I have to speak here today, this is how I'm showing up in this space. This is how the values that I have and the knowledge that I now have the responsibility to evangelize for this work. So if you're in a position where you can lead, where you have privilege or power or influence, spread the word. And again, it's not just the word; it's the actions. Who are you allying with? Who are you hiring? Who are you embracing to lead? Who are you lifting up? Who are you building alliances with? It's not enough just to be a nice progressive anymore. It feels good, but it's not substantive. Where's the beef? So on that note, I know we're going to have, I think, a little bit of Q&A or some sort of a conversation aspect to this, because I definitely do better in that sort of environment. This is the first type of thing I've done like this before, so I hope that was useful. I appreciate your interest in the topic, and thank you for inviting me.
James, thank you. That was really inspiring. You gave us hope, because so often there isn't a lot of hope out there. Everybody wants us to be divided and living in despair and cowering in our beds and pulling the covers over our heads and afraid to get out there and address the issues. And then when we do, it's all about bathrooms and gender pronouns and banned books and, oh God, we can't read Anne Frank's diary anymore. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just these issues which are important to us to fight back against are what are taking up our energy right now. And I always say, without the environmental movement is the most important social justice movement there is, because without an environment, there are no other justice movements at all, because we're not here. No one's here to move to get a justice movement going or to fight for justice. So, this is really important work. So I thank you, James, for all of your leadership with us today. I look forward to the Q&A afterwards. And you got a lot of friends here. So Let's see Faith UCC. Maybe this will come out in the Q&A afterwards. Where we want to go with this? Where do we want to take our environmental work? What do we want to see here, and how can we partner with other organizations? It's not just about here. It's about who we're in relationship with to build the power necessary to make change. And we can start inspiring faith communities. The UCC is doing a good job. Let's partner with our statewide national UCC, but bring other congregations in. Because of all places, faith communities should be places that care about the beauty of, this creative ethos that we live in. There's so many. It's called the fingerprint of God. So, let's partner up, and let's get, maybe, who wants to see some solar panels here, huh? We get a hand around with some solar panels? Oh, yeah. And we got some initiatives to work on, so we can be a model to inspire other faith communities, and there are others doing that, so we can learn from them and then pick up their mantle. So James, thank you. It's been a delight to have you with us, and please do stick around. Go get some hospitality, come on in here, and we'll circle up some chairs. We'll have a moment of Q&A with James afterwards, so thank you. Let's let our choir inspire us now.
In the
Really beautiful. Thank you. Great way to wrap up a beautiful environmental message today. I'm going to share some joys and concerns before we just journey into a time of prayer, and then have some announcements, and then circle up in here for a talk back with James. Hold Bill Swisher in your hearts and prayers. Bill's with us today, and Bill's father, Ralph, passed away this week. He was 101 years old, and he died down in Sarasota. So, Bill, we're thinking about you and your family this day. And, of course, then we got to lift up Mark as well, who's going through some health challenges in a time of chemo. And, Mark, we're thinking about you all the time, so hoping that things are going well. So we hold both of you up on this Sunday morning. Absolutely. Hold Lizbeth Cohn. She's not with us. She's probably online with us. Lizbeth fell. She was supposed to be here last night, had a great act to perform, but she fell and broke her kneecap and bruised her face pretty badly as well. So she's really struggling. So, Lizbeth, we're thinking about you this day and hoping that you get back to us soon. And we sure missed you last night. So save that comedy act for next year, or when we do, or next month when we do that again. We're thinking about you this day, Lizbeth. Ellery Albrecht Subi is here with us today. Ellery and his nephew went through quite a heart scare last week. His nephew Eric, he's home after having some pretty bad procedures done and tubes, but he's home now and he's doing a lot better. So we're happy to hear that, Ellery. So we'll continue to hold Eric in our hearts and prayers. And I hold our very own Martin. Martin, our maintenance person, Martin, he's just beloved here. He's going through some real time of real health challenges as well. So, hopefully, I'm hoping he's resting. And he already texted me, said he's going to try and sneak in later today. And I'm like, no, you stay home and rest. So, he's such a great guy. So hold Martin in your hearts and prayers in this time as well. Gary, I was going to lift Gary up in prayer, but he's with us today. Gary. We're happy to have Gary here. Oh, he's standing up back there, Gary. James, let me tell you something about this guy. Gary's turning, I'm going to out you here, Gary. Gary's turning 92 this year. Gary is like really been the father of this garden back there. The butterflies. I mean, he's been working in that garden, the butterfly garden, since we built it. From the very first days and planting, and at 92 years old, you'll find him out there huffing wheelbarrows around, and it's really quite amazing the work that he does out there. So, Gary, we've been trying to pick up your slack in the meantime, but we can't compare to you. So, we're delighted to have you back with us today, Gary. Glad you're feeling better. He had a pacemaker put in. He's just trying to get his energy back up there. So, and he's itching to get back out in that garden and do a little work. So, so you take it easy, all right, and only do what you can. And also continue to hold Ruth Ann. She's at home watching with us. Ruth Ann is recovering from hip surgery. She is at home now and is on the mend, but doing some rehab. So hold Ruth Ann in your hearts and prayers as well. I want to celebrate a couple of joys here. Don and Marge Miller celebrating their 57th anniversary on Monday. Woo! That's a joy. Happy anniversary, you guys. That is awesome. And then this is handed to me by Donna here. A joy, speaking of environmental joy, Queen of the Night is blooming in and around Dunedin. The flowers bloom for one night only in a burst of light. That is really cool. A burst of light, perfume starting at 10 p.m. Is that like tonight, or do we know, or is it just a season? This is now. They don't have a time that they come out.
It's around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They die by the morning.
They dive in the morning. Oh, so y'all got to go and walk around Dunedin and look for some of the Queen of the Night. So that's really cool. So thanks for that. And I want to share a joy of my own. My daughter Fiona graduated from high school last week. So we are the proud parents of a high school graduate. So thank you for that. Oh, and we have Cooper, Bill and Melody's 1-year-old golden retriever turns 1 year old today. So we say happy birthday to Cooper. It's one that had a golden. We have mom and dad have a couple goldens here. We love goldens. So we love all dogs here, but goldens have a soft place in my heart. So yeah. Hey, I wonder if you just join me in a little moment of easing into a little time of centering here this morning, and again, just hold that joy that this earth brings to you, close to you all day. Bring it into your week, and maybe go this afternoon and spend some time outside and just revel in the beauty of this natural world. And as we pray this day, let us just lift up the communities that are so hard hit right now by environmental loss and environmental injustice, and thinking of City Park and other places. Flint, Michigan comes to mind, and other areas where there's just so much injustice, so much of it racial, all of it environmental. So let's hold those communities in our hearts this day that are struggling, and those wonderful people that just want to breathe fresh air and drink clean water. It should be human rights for everybody in our world. Let's lift up the places of war and strife, thinking of Sudan and a situation that's not getting better, still Ukraine, still embroiled in a war they don't want anything to do with. Those people who are suffering, and of course the poorest in our world, and those struggling with oppression, those under attack by our own government, especially in the state of Florida right now. People that just want to live and be exactly who God created them to be. Of course, let's hold our nation, and as James said, all the division that we seem to be facing right now. Let us hold to a strong spirit of hope this day. Hope that we can find better days ahead. We can do so together. I just want to invite you now, if there's someone you would like to lift, just a name, you would lift into this time, somebody you hold in your heart that's suffering this day. Please lift them into this space now.
Julie. Martin. Gloria.
Case Light.
Terry. The Nealon family. Cohen. Lisbeth. Carol. Rhonda and Bob. Sasha. Judy. Noel.
May all of the people that we have lifted aloud and those that we hold in the silent places in our hearts, maybe they find their way into the deepest mysteries of you, oh God, which we name God. And for them we pray this day. I wonder if you'll join me now in this is a really cool interpretation of the Lord's Prayer that I found. I didn't write it, so I'm stealing it. But it's so beautiful, I wanted to use it. So I wonder if you'll join me in this litany. We'll use this as our Lord's Prayer for the day. Holy One, remember that Jesus taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, one another, Creator. You are the essence of creation of us and of this world, and you called your creation very good, and you continue to bless creation with the fullness of your presence. Jesus told us that we were the great unknown, and he called it in heaven. Yet we fail to live in awe of your mystery. We take you for granted, and we don't see the awesome beauty of the world you have made and are a part of. We pray, hallowed be your name. And we confess that our reverence for you does not always lead us to care reverently for your earth, sky, and sea. We pray your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. We confess that we often put our own interests first exploiting your creation and living for our own convenience and self-interest. We pray, give us today our daily bread. Confess that we consume more than our share of the world's resources while billions go hungry every day and your whole creation suffers. We pray, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. We confess that we see these words only in spiritual terms, even while the Bible is filled with teachings about economic justice and creation care. We pray, lead us not into temptation. Help us to resist the temptations of spending more, using more, acquiring more, and wasting more. We pray, deliver us from evil. Free us from greed and self-centeredness that separate us from you and others. Help us to know that in caring for your wonderful world, we are working for your kingdom, being good stewards of your creative power, and giving glory. Let it be so. Amen. Let it be so. Couple quick announcements. Again, circle up afterwards. Let's have a Q&A with James. Bring your environmental questions, your justice questions, and let's have a great conversation. Our out to lunch bunch, is that today? You guys are going out today. So we have a little time to gather up before you go. Anybody going out to lunch today? Raise your hand and
Wait. Natalie Erd, she assumed, you know what happens when you assume, Grill Smith cannot take us today. I did my normally Saturday call, they said, nope. So my other thing is first raise your hands, how many are coming out?
if you going out to lunch today, 12:30.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, okay, we cannot do Grill Smith. Please meet me in the back of the chapel at the end of the meeting. Sorry, end of service, sorry.
Gonna find you another place to have lunch. McDonald's is always open over there, so you know. No, don't go there. Don't go there. See Natalie with any questions about, hey, Raise Pride Day. It's coming up June 10th. We got a big group going. I'm so excited to be a part of this. I can't wait to go. But we need to pay. We got to send them a check this week for our tickets. So if you signed up to go or you bought a bunch of tickets for other people, just remember the 32 apiece. If you can get that in today, that would be great. If not today, maybe by, let's say, Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest, so we can reserve our seats and get our tickets. But that'll be on June 10th. Should be a great time. Any questions about it, talk to our own Casey Cochran over in the AV section over here, and he will answer anything. Adam Care Women's Circle is coming up Saturday, June 3rd. It's going to be the Together Women's Rise. It's a potluck event, so bring a dish to share and invite a friend. And we'll probably have an announcement on that next week, give you a little more information on that from Esther. So, but just get that on your calendars for now. And finally, you've all been waiting patiently. You've all been waiting patiently. And I got a big announcement, and I wanted to play Queen's song, We Are the Champions, but I figured we'd get nailed with the copyright, and we'd be in trouble, and they'd shut us down, so we just got to do a round of applause. We are the 2023 Peanut Butter and Jelly Challenge champions. We're done eating cares. Hang on to that. Hang on. Keep your tomatoes, people. It's not last night. Before I say more, hang on. We are, first I just want to say how awesome you guys are. We won the turkey challenge, and you filled cars with turkeys. You rose to the occasion on this past month, and you filled cars, people's hungry bellies and their cars with peanut butter and jelly to bring to their kids, to their families, and you guys beat out every other church, big churches, small churches, you beat them all out, and you should be really proud of that. Now I know, we got a round of applause. Whew. What are we going to do next? I don't know. Okay, now I know the elephant in the room here, it says Faith Lutheran United Church of Christ. So I went ahead and fixed that. It's Faith United Church of Christ. They're going to get us a new one. Thanks to those that were able to go last night to the ballpark and accept our award on our behalf. That's really, really cool. And they've promised that we got a new plaque coming. So we'll find some fun things to do with it. And it's really awesome. You all rose to the occasion. And we are now 2 for 2. We did almost 2,000 pounds of peanut butter and jelly and other things out of this church. And that's pretty cool. And that just leads me to giving, as I always say, and it's not a lie, you are the most generous congregation I've ever seen in my life. And it just showed last month. So thank you for all your giving. Enough on that. If you got a bunch of cash in your pocket and it's weighing your pants down, you want to get rid of it, we have plates on the back table. If you're online with us, just go to our website. If you're like, I want to make a love contribution to this place, PayPal and Banco right there online. But thank you, everybody. We take checks. And we take checks. Yes, we do. Checks, cash, whatever you want to do. I don't think we have one of those credit card machines here, but we may want to invest in something like that. But the 2 for 2, you guys. The turkey drive and now peanut butter and jelly. We've got a reputation we're developing here, and it's pretty Pretty cool. So thank you for your incredible giving. Hey, let's rise up in body or spirit, sing our way out of here for peace, get some hospitality, and then come back in here and let's talk with James about the Sierra Club and the work we can do together. But first, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with us.